Good afternoon. 70-degree days are great, but 70-degree days in October are like very special. So I'm just like loving this week. I hope that you are taking advantage of the warm weather, getting some of that last minute summer action in outdoors. So maybe I can get done with you guys before the sun breaks and I can go out and play some more tennis. Today is interesting because we've moved out of chapter 5, so we have marched into chapter 6. For those of you joining us for the first time, we are walking through the Gospel of Mark. We love the Gospel of Mark because the Gospel of Mark teaches us how to be disciples. So we've been working on that action part of the Gospel. What is it that we need to do? Our behavior should signify who we are. And today we're talking about your byline there is, how do you judge people? Is it based on their fortune, their pedigree, or is it just what we ought to be judging people on? And that's what's inside, and that's going to resonate the moment you open your mouth. People can just watch you and tell how you treat others in terms of what the real character, of the person is. And then we're talking about this particular portion is that Jesus goes home. He goes home after everything that we talked about for the ending part of chapter 5, which was magnificent in terms of the faith and the trust and the belief that the ruler of the synagogue had in Jesus' ability to heal his daughter that was dying. The woman, the belief and faith that she had that if she could just touch the hem of his garment, that she would be made whole. And the demon-possessed man that after Jesus healed him and convinced him, he had made up his mind that there were legions of demons inside of him, and after Jesus had healed him, he wanted to do nothing but just be in Jesus' presence. He wanted to climb in the boat with Jesus, and Jesus says, no, go and tell your people what I've done. And so we're coming off of that, the end of that chapter, where there's nothing but, do you believe? Yes, I believe. If you do not believe, Jesus, help my unbelief. And we're talking about people that had a strong faith and just that ultimate belief. And this chapter starts out saying, then. And so whenever something says then, you have to pay attention to what preceded that, just so that you can get the gist of then. So we're doing a little bit of Bible study while we're kind of going through the little teaching piece at the same time. And so it starts with, then he went out. So that's the then. The then is on the heels of all of this demonstrated strong faith and belief and beyond hope, but just assurance and confidence that this is the man who is not only able to change your situation, but willing and wanting to change your situation. And then we move into Jesus going back to Nazareth, where he was born and raised, and being rejected by his own. And it's also interesting because for those of you who were here 2 weeks ago, I said we were going to do something fabulous at my place, and we did. We had such a wonderful time on last Saturday evening at the Dr. Dallas event, and we taught people how to exercise. So I was a little bit sneaky. I sent out the invitation, and then it wasn't until I got the RSVPs, and I just had to put out some house rules maybe 2 hours before they were supposed to show up. I was like, well, just in case you don't know, we don't have chairs. We don't sit on chairs. We sit on exercise balls. So dress extremely comfortable. We are going to learn some exercises. You don't have to participate in the exercises, but at least you'll get the instructions so that you'll know how to do these if you choose to do them, because we highly recommend that you put an exercise ball into your homes, get rid of some of those chairs. And so, of course, I got some little interesting comments, but by then I think people were committed to coming, so they were coming. And then we did the raw salad preparation. They took home raw pizza, raw carrot tuna, raw kale greens, walnut pate. A lot of the dishes that you guys have seen me make here, they actually had an opportunity to experience them. A lot of the dishes that you've seen me make here, they actually had an opportunity to experience them. So I've been doing this. We've been here. It will be 2 years in January, every single 2 weeks. We've been here and we've shown you how to make this food that I got so many text messages all week long about how fabulous and delicious the food was. And I couldn't believe that I could have a raw pizza that was so delicious and yada, 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 yada. And I'm just like, are you guys listening to me when I'm here telling you, oh, I wish you could smell and taste this? Are you just like not believing me? Are you rejecting me because I am from you? You know, it was even interesting when we introduced ourselves to one another. So those that went to school with me, I always know where I know someone from because the people I actually went to school with will call me Renette. You know, if I am around my new clients and friends and the people that I've met in the last 20 years, you know, they'll call me Dr. Dallas. You know, if I'm in a room and someone says Renette around these people will all look around and be like, well, who's Renette? Even though it's on my business cards, it's on my bio, it's on my website, but there's no connection there. And so it was interesting when people, because there was like this hesitancy for the people that, because I was like, oh, take a couple of minutes and tell me what was the funniest thing that happened to you today. And I think I may have asked them how do they know me or how they've come to know me or just, you know, share that. And so when the people that I went to school with, the people that I grew up with, they were just bent on calling me Renette, you know, and then there were some others that I met kind of in between, and they were looking because they know Renette, but then they were like, should I say I know Dr. Dallas from such and such? You know, it's just so funny because you just, you know, you wonder about people, and you're the kid that climbed a tree with them. You're the kid that, you know, played hide and seek with them. So now you're teaching them not only how to possibly extend, you know, their life in terms of the quality of life, you know, your time is your time, but the quality of life that you're going to be here that can help you reverse your diseases. Who is this woman that climbed trees with me? How did she get into a position where she could tell me what I should consume and what I should not consume and how to exercise my body and X, Y, Z? How are you in situations like that? I mean, we all have friends that we went to school with, and now they're, you know, they're cardiologists. I mean, how would you feel when they're coming into the room to tell you the procedures that are going to take place before they perform open heart surgery on you? Is there separation? You know, so this is what we're talking about today. So it's something that a lot of times we read things in the Bible and we're just like, you know what, they were just smoking or just not on the right page. We love to criticize Peter, but Peter has done the things that all of us have thought about doing, you know? And so sometimes we just need to be a little transparent and look and put ourselves in the situation, and we'll find that that's why the story is in the Bible, because Jesus, God, is speaking to us today in the 21st century and helping us not make the same mistakes that the people of the first century made. And so here we go. Jesus rejected at Nazareth. We're just going to do the first 6 verses today. It says, then he went out from there, the place where all the people had the assurance and confidence in him, and he came to his own country. And his disciples followed him. And when the Sabbath had come, he began to teach in the synagogue, and many hearing him were astonished, saying, where did this man get these things? And what wisdom is this which is given to him, that such mighty works are performed by his hands? Is this not the carpenter, the son of Mary, and the brother of James, Jose, Judas, and Simon? And are not his sisters here with us? So they were offended at him. But Jesus said to them, a prophet is not without honor except in his own country, among his own relatives, and in his own house. Now he could do no mighty work there, except that he laid his hands on a few sick people and healed them. And he marveled because of their unbelief. Then he went about the villages in a circuit teaching. There's a lot going on here. The first thing we want to jump back to is when it says, and when the Sabbath had come, he began to teach in the synagogue. So this is the difference between me going back to my little neighborhood and hanging out, okay, family, not family reunion, but 50th year high school reunion. We go to the high school reunion. So I'm coming as an alumni. I'm coming to the reunion. We're hanging out at the reunion. We're doing whatever. That is not the capacity. Jesus didn't come to a homecoming. Jesus went, and it specifically says, with his circle of disciples. So he went in the capacity of a rabbi. The rabbis would walk around, and their little circle of disciples would follow them wherever they were going. He was constantly teaching them as he was walking, and people would come alongside to just pick up some of those nuggets of information. And more importantly, it says, and when the Sabbath had come, he began to teach in the synagogue. He didn't go home to his house and, sit down for a meal and, just catch up on the latest neighborhood news over the last, however many years he had been gone. No, he came to teach. He came to preach. He went to do his business in the synagogue. Now, what's really interesting is it says that as he taught in the disciples, the people that were hearing him were astonished. They were astonished. They were amazed, it says, at what was coming out of his mouth. He is giving them knowledge and information and wisdom that they had not experienced before. They were astonished. This is like, whoa. Not that they're wondering if they can believe this. The belief is there. The teaching is fundamental. The teaching is direct. And they believe. They're amazed at it. And then they even go as far to say, where did he get such wisdom? So they acknowledge the wisdom. They acknowledge the high level of intellect, but that goes right in and out of their head because they can't get beyond the fact that, but wait a minute, isn't this Mary's son the carpenter? So the carpenter back in this day is not the traditional carpenter that we think about today. When you think carpenter, you think a hammer and a nail. No, the carpenter then was the person that could do magic with his hands. He could build a chicken coop, but he could build a temple. He could build a house, but he could build a synagogue, a bridge, anything. So the craftsmen of those days, when it says carpenter, it translates to craftsman, and then the further Greek translation for it is tikton, which means multiple use of hands. The craftsman that can build and do anything with his hands. And so that was the person that was considered to be the working man. This is the working man, the man amongst the people. This is the beautiful part of the story, is because we're talking about Jesus Christ. We're talking about the man who is fully God and fully man at the same time, who wrapped himself into the womb of the Virgin Mary and came and walked upon the earth so that he could experience what we experience. But he humbled himself to the point where he would be an ordinary man. He could have still been here fully man and fully human as a prince, a king, or whatever. But he came as a working class man. And this is what they couldn't get beyond. This is Mary's son, the carpenter. His brothers are here. His sisters are among us. What gives him the right to have such wisdom? That's the foolishness of this. And for that reason, the Bible says that they despised him. They were offended by him. Offended. I'm offended because you come from the same place, the same pedigree that I come from, but yet you come with more knowledge, more wisdom that is astonishing to me, is amazing to me, but I'm offended. Close your eyes and just meditate on that foolishness for a moment, and then ask yourself honestly, in all transparency, how many times have you done the same thing? That we are offended by people that don't have the charisma, that don't have the red bottom shoes, that don't have the $3,000 tailored suits that come into the church pulpit. We can't even hear what they're saying because they're not of that level that we've come to say, oh, he can preach. And a lot of that is based on a whole lot of other stuff versus at the end of the day, has he said something that's going to change your life, that's going to change your behavior in the middle of the week? And most times the people whose sermons really have an impact on me, they're not the people that are getting paid some of the mega bucks that people are getting paid when they show up in the pulpit. Let's just put that in the back of your head. Then says, but then Jesus said to them, A prophet is not without honor except in his own country. So this is coming from Jesus. This is another reason this is here, just so that we can understand and recognize that. Those of us who go on to allow God to use us, and when we allow God to use us, God can do some pretty astonishing and amazing things, and we're not to feel guilty that he's taken us to a level where we can explain how to do something like this. And I always tell people, it's the grace of God that I can put together some of the things that I can put together. And you just allow God to be the rung of the ladder of the journey of your life. And then these are the things that happens. So Jesus knows that. He wants us to know that so that we can continue to be astonishing, to continue to amaze people by walking in his ways and allowing the Holy Spirit to use us mightily. And just understand that don't worry about them. Just what he says, in other words, my friend always says, just keep it moving. He did a few things, but he just healed a few people and went on a circuit outside of this little village. And that's a sad, sad thing, because here's the other piece that's beautiful, is that he says, and he, Jesus, marveled because of their unbelief. Now they're sitting here marveled, astonished, amazed at his teachings. However, they despised him. And Jesus is sitting here with the same level of astonishment and amazement that you fools are going to miss your blessing because you can't get beyond yourselves. And so, when they talk about, notice, go back here for just a second, because the other piece of this, before we leave this, the other piece of this is that it says, is this not the carpenter, the son of Mary? So back in the first century, women really didn't mean much. We were more property, just like the slaves for the most part. And so you have to ask yourself, remember a few weeks ago we were talking about how to get through studying the Bible and reading the words and making sure that we understand what's going on. So it says the son of Mary. Now you and I know the importance of that in terms of the actual virgin birth. But when it comes to people being in a crowd to categorize someone, typically it would be the son of Joseph. Notice that Joseph's name is not mentioned. They go on to mention the son of Mary, his mother. They name each of his, and this tells you to my point, because they name each of his brothers, but then they just call out, and his sisters. You gotta love it. And so this tells you that for the majority of the time that they knew him, from a child to this period in which he was the carpenter, the working man, everybody needed a carpenter. Whether you needed a chicken coop or a temple built, they would come to the local carpenter. So everyone knew him, but they knew him as the son of Mary. And that's important when you start pulling pieces together, because that tells you that Joseph must have died at a very early age. The Bible never really talks much about Joseph until after he did what he was supposed to do in terms of having Mary be in a position to have the birth. So you have to assume in your sanctified imagination that Joseph died when Jesus was relatively young. Jesus now has the reputation of being a craftsman, which means that he basically had a business where if you needed anything and everything built, repaired, or whatever, you would come to him. That speaks volumes outside of the volumes that we already know about the love of Christ, the compassion of Christ. But it also speaks to his integrity, his responsibility, his accountability, that the reason that these people knew him as the son of Mary, the carpenter, was because he stayed around to take care of because we know this was the first child, to take care of his brothers and sisters, to take care of his mother, the widow. And this is fully God, fully man. Unlike us, Jesus knows exactly why he was put here, the entire plan, knowing that a world is waiting to be healed, a world is waiting for him to come and do what he has come to do. He has this knowledge in his head. But yet, he let all of that stay on hold until he got to a point where probably James and Judas were able to take over what he was doing for his mother, that the family was well cared for, before he started on the task that took him from his heavenly place to earth. That's pretty amazing. That also speaks to us in terms of patience is a virtue, yes, but the world that was waiting for it to be healed by him, the world that was waiting for his teaching, all of that was waiting for him had to wait. Because this had to be done first. And sometimes we have a vision, we have our goals, but we don't have the patience to allow God to put us where he wants us to be in that particular season. And sometimes you just have to, you can see it, you know the writing's on the wall, you know that God has given you this gift, but it's not happening right now. But take a close look at what is happening. Is God using you? Are the people around you benefiting from your life on a daily basis? They were in this particular situation. So that other thing that Jesus had to do was put on hold, and he patiently stayed here while people came to ask him to build a chicken coop or to help build a house or to help build a temple, knowing that the world needed to be saved. The cross was waiting. That helps us in our, because to preach, to teach, to do the things that he would subsequently do, if the atmosphere is not right, if the environmental conditions, if people don't want to understand, they are not going to understand. You know, just like these people rejected him. What did he do? Went on a circuit and started teaching somewhere else. And so he could not have taught them at any other point. And so the point here is that seasons, we say that, this is my season or this is not my season. But that's very important, because when you're walking with God, you will know the right time to move or not to move. I often tell people when they often ask me, you should be doing this, you should be doing this. For the last 20 years I've been in business, people will be telling me what I should be doing and when I should be doing it. And I always say, when you don't clearly hear from God, then what you do is tarry. You continue to do exactly what you're doing. You don't wait in a passive, but you continue to work. You continue to do your part. And when it happens and when the time comes, you won't have to have a conversation with anybody. It will be just without a doubt. You'll know, okay, I'm supposed to be doing this over here now. And so now, just like you know that, I know, because I've been looking at these avocados for 2 days, that they need to be prepared now. Now is their season to be chomped and eaten up, because now they're beyond the ripe stage. And so what had happened is we had our event, and nothing is better than sliced avocado on top of the meal salad that we do. And people that eat avocados are said to just be amazingly healthy. I try to eat an avocado every day. The fat that you get from avocado is the preferred fat. The heart's preferred source of energy is fat, but the fat that comes from an avocado is just like at the top of the list for healing. And then why? It's green. And what do green foods do? Green foods clean the blood. And when our blood is clean, then we're on our way to health for sure. So avocado, outside of the good fat, the wonderful taste, you want to purchase them. If you're going to the store and you're going to buy 6 avocados because you want to have an avocado a day, then they shouldn't be the same texture. You know, you want to get some very ripe avocados for the latter part of the week if you're not going into the supermarket 2 or 3 times a week. And then you get some that are very ripe that you can consume that day. And so a very ripe avocado looks like this. It looks like when I press against it, you're going to see my fingerprint clearly in there. When it starts to get just on the edge, then it starts to just, you know, it starts to kind of pull inward. And so I kept them in the window. So what happened is I wanted to have more avocados for the salad, but they just were not ripe. I put them in a brown bag with some very ripe bananas. You can put them on the radiator for a day, and they just, at the time of the event, They still weren't ripe, and you know they're not ripe when you can't see your fingerprint. And so when you go to cut them, it's going to be difficult. You're going to have to be trying to pull it out of the skin, and that tells you that it's not ripe. And you don't want to eat foods that are not ripe. They're just not good for you. You know, it's the same thing I say about the bananas. You want the bananas to be ripe. They should be covered with about 30% brown spots. The tips you definitely want to be brown. You go to most marathons or 5K walks, at the end they have all these bananas with little green tips on them. Don't eat them. You know, it's not only a totally different source of carbohydrate, it becomes a simple carbohydrate that has lots of sugar in it, but it just doesn't digest well with the body. So I had ripened avocado, and this is another thing about food preparation. So you just don't want to make it a chore. So you want to make it as easy as possible. So when the avocados get this right, notice there's no blender, there's no food processor. We have some wooden spoons, and when you're mashing anything, that's another thing, is you want to use a wooden spoon. Now, these walnut-tipped prongs that I bought from the Magnolia place in Waco, Texas, you don't even want to know how much this thing costs. But I thought, wow, that's made out of walnuts. This is some good stuff. But nevertheless, this is on the cheaper side. You can get a couple of those. You should have wooden spoons. So what we're going to do is we have ripened avocado. So we're not going to put 4 avocados on one salad for me personally. So what we're going to do is, what can we do with ripened avocados quickly? Lots of things. I should have probably done a variety of things for you. But one of the fun things you can do is take the avocado and put it in a blender, put maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons of maple syrup, and maybe a teaspoon of carrot powder, and then you have chocolate ice cream. You have chocolate, it's the texture of ice cream from the avocado. The carob and the maple syrup is going to make it taste like sugar, chocolate sugar, and you simply blend that up, put it in the freezer for a couple of minutes just to let it get cool, or you can freeze it. So I don't know why that buzzer is going off. So I must have the alarm set for 5. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to get into a ripened avocado. I'm going to show you how to make some guacamole. Very simple. So there are some other things here, is that I could take my little mini, that I love, the tabletop food processor, depending on how you want your avocado. So I'm going to take a look, because if these are as ripe as I think they are, I'm going to fold the other ingredients in. But as I'm looking at my fresh garlic, either I'm going to have to mince it or chop it or something. So let's just start with the main ingredient. What we want to do is take a bowl. You don't really need a chopping board to slice and dice the avocado, because we're going to mash it. So you have an avocado, for people that don't know, and you simply press down to the seed in the avocado, which is in the center of the avocado. So basically you're going to make a circle, and as soft as this avocado looks, the fact that I wasn't able to easily pull that apart says that it's not as ripe as I thought, or it hasn't ripened uniformly, because I tried to hurry it up. But see how easy it was to scoop it out of the shell? And so you just take all of the inside out and then remove the little seed. So the large seed, someone did text me and say that they were trying to do the avocado salad. I wanted to know how to keep it from browning. I guess if you're going to present it to people, you don't want the avocado to be brown in color. It really doesn't matter. I don't care sometimes. But what you can do is you can put a little, because she wanted to know how did I keep it green, because I had everything in containers as I was putting the salad together. And so what you'll do is you'll slice your avocado in a container, and then you'll keep the seed, just put it into the container with the sliced avocado. That will keep it from browning. But you can also just put a little lemon juice on it, and that will hold it for a day or two in terms of the discoloration. And so that's pretty much how we're going to clean the avocado. I should probably move this to the center so you can see better. And it's not rocket science how to get in there. So we'll do another one. That one was a little messy. I'm going to try my hands here and just, avocado is one of those foods that when it can be, once your hands get in it, you're going to have to rinse them or you're not going to be able to touch anything else because they can get kind of like a paste on it. So I'm going to put some gloves on here and we're going to slice this one up. Same thing. You put the knife in until you feel the seed, and then you circle your way around until you come to a complete circle. Then you kind of push on it, and you can just kind of knife it out, or you can spoon it out, because it's ripe, so it's going to easily just come out. See that? Yes, sirree. Hopefully you have compost at home, and then you just pull the seed out. Make sure you've gotten all the avocado off of it. And scoop the rest of this out. This is going to go pretty quick. This is the hardest or the longest part. I thought instead of doing that ahead of time, some of you may not exactly have a lot of practice at getting into an avocado. Now this one looks really ripe. So let's see the difference in terms of how that just flips out after you've come. Nope. So see how easy the skin is? So around the skin, the avocado is very ripe. But as you can see me pressing into it now, the inside is not as ripe. And so whenever you have to use that much pressure, I'm not going to use that because that's not going to make for good. Well, it's a little bit. It's got spots where some of it is very ripe and some of it's not. But when it's like really not ripe, you just chalk it up to a loss because you don't want it in your dish because it's not ripe. So see, this is much softer on the other side, the bottom side. So that could be probably a side that was sitting on the ripened banana, a side that was sitting on the heat. But as I get right to this point, that's a little tough. So we're going to toss that. We still have one left. We'll see how even this one. And that's what you want. Don't really want to have to rush the ripening. You can do that if you're in a bind and you just need some avocado. You can put it into a paper bag. But that's exactly what's going to happen is you're going to have inconsistency with the ripening part. So some of it will be a little more ripened than others. Now, if all of it's ripe, then that's cool. But in that particular case, there was that big chunk on there that was not ripe. And unless you want a tummy ache later, you just don't want to fool around with unripened food. That's what those yellow bananas do. And so we'll take this out. This is pretty soft, so we're going to scoop that out. And we're good. All right. So you're going to take all of the mess here, here, and then we're going to take these off. Another pair. Avocado is just a hot mess on your hands. Okay. So I'm thinking. So it depends on what you like. Some people like a lot of texture in their food. That would be me. But for time's sake, so we have the ripened avocado, and basically what you want to do is take that, and you have to play it by ear, how much oil you need. Usually at least, this is a 1/4 cup here of lemon juice. These little tumblers I know are a good 1/4 to a 1/2 cup. So you want to usually use about the same amount. And so then I start taking my wooden spoon, and you just take it and mash, and keep mashing. It would be better if I had my wooden bowl, but I wanted to bring out the brass bowl. But you just keep mashing. See where we're getting? It's not that complicated. Especially, and that's why you want it to be right. If it's not, you can always dump everything into a blender or food processor. But that thing that I talked about in terms of texture, this is going to make your guacamole more like a chunky dip versus a creamy dip. And so when you keep doing that, you kind of do it in circles and beat it up a little bit. So I'm not putting enough oomph in it because I've kind of injured my shoulder. I don't think it's my rotary cup, but there's some pain going on there. I went serving a ball the wrong way a couple of weeks ago, and it's just not getting better. So that's getting more like it. Just got to put a little bit more shoulder rotation in it. Ouch. Alrighty. Then we have lemon juice. I'm going to add a little of that. We have some fresh cilantro. We can fold all of this in. These tomatoes are not as ripe or soft as I want them to be. So what we're going to do to make this more consistent in its blending is that I'm going to throw everything else in this quick little food processor. To make it easy, I've already rinsed the fine ripe tomatoes. They're fine, they're ripe, but they're not. A little more cilantro, but I didn't have it, so we've got parsley and just a little bit of cilantro here. And as I told the people the other day, 3 sprigs of parsley is the equivalent to all of the vitamin C from a small orange, the same amount of vitamin A that you would get from 1 ounce of carrots, the same amount of calcium that you would get from a plate of spinach. 3 sprigs of parsley every day. Chew that and watch how things change in your body. So we have lots of garlic because garlic is so good for you. We're also going to add some red onions because they were chopped and they need to be used. So you can use garlic or not. Basically, you can make the avocado with the guacamole with just avocado, a little lemon, a little oil, and a tomato or not. I mean, it's because you can just eat mashed avocado. You know, you slice avocado and you can just eat it like that. I'm going to use a little jalapeno, a lot of jalapeno. Put a tad bit of red pink salt. Just a little bit. And then I think we're good with, we'll put a little bit of lemon juice in here to get it to twirl. And that's it. So again, I don't want it to be like super creamy. I want it to have a little texture, but that's like a huge jump for me. Instead of having to sit there and try to beat the crap out of all of that, especially those large chunks of garlic. So we dump all of this in. And again, you know, the good thing about coming out to the event on Saturday is that as I was putting the salad together, not only did we experience color therapy, but aromatherapy. So when you're here and you're dealing with this and you're smelling the different fragrances that are associated with vibrant foods, the red onions. Look at this. How did that happen? God, dog. Shorty just did not want to die. And so we'll just chop up this tomato and throw it in there whole like that. I don't think we need any more lemon juice. We could have probably had a couple more avocados, but this is cool. This is so. If you've ever had the nachos, what do they call it? Loaded nachos, and you look at the guacamole that's put on there, plus all that's processed to the worst degree, and a bunch of sugar is added. And you notice I don't have any spices because you have the jalapeno peppers, you have the sea salt, you have the garlic, and that to me is a great texture in terms of a little chunkiness, a little smoothness. You can stuff wrap with it. We can take some of that raw carrot bread that we had for our raw pizza crust and just put a wallop on there. You can put a tablespoon or 2 on top of your salad. You could take some seaweed wrap and stuff it. And you could have some really healthy corn tortilla baked chips or something like that with it. or you can just take a spoon and eat it just like it is. But it smells absolutely wonderful. You've got at least, 4 cups here. So it's more than enough to feed a group of folks. You could also put some corn in it. The only other thing that I would probably add to it, those 4 legs of preparing food, you want something sweet, something sour, something fat. And so I would always probably put just a tad bit of raw honey. That is perfect. That's really good. No one's eating out of this, so I can just double dip and let saliva drop too. So no sharing this. That's really good. I don't know where my raw bread is, but that's going to be a part of dinner tonight. See, no judging. I think I bit into an avocado. This is really good. I haven't eaten all day. It's been a long day. Watch how you judge people. There's some people that we may not even judge them. But all of our friends have already told us that this is not a good person or this person is X, Y, and Z. I'm proud to say that I try to wear rose-colored glasses. And I've heard reputations of people and things, and I usually give you the opportunity to prove the reputation incorrectly. I usually try to come in with an open mind and just allow people to make an impression on me. And I just think that unfortunately, a lot of us don't do that. This is some kind of good. So you might even look at this and be like, I don't think so. And then you'll miss out because that is fabulous. So the next time you are being introduced to someone or whatever, just like you don't want anybody to be prejudiced to you because you might be African American or you might be female or you might be considered this, that, or whatever. Put yourself in the shoes of the other person. That's what that royal command is all about. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And so don't prejudge people just as though you would not want to be prejudged. I hope all of this has been helpful. We are getting very close to publishing our cookbook, so just in case you haven't been taking notes and paying attention, we're going to consolidate it for you and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Ask Dr. Dallas, because we're doing a whole lot of other things on there that are not going to be on Facebook, because Facebook's pulling your videos after 30 days and you've just got to stay on top of all of that, and it's starting to complicate things. So enjoy the rest of your evening. We will see you in 2 weeks.